Okay, I'm going to say this once. I'm going to say it. I'm disappointed. Not in this video game, though. I'm disappointed in the fans. You know what? We had a real deal. We have an Instagram page, by the way, in case you guys don't know it.
Him handle the social media, so if you're ever talking to someone in the comments,
you know
it's probably him.
You know what's more disappointing than being the manager of the social media? Losing in a poll to you, being the manager of social media.
I think
Can you believe
it's pretty justifiable. I mean, we're gonna put the picture on screen here. Here's the final results of the poll.
I don't.
You were a lot of you were Star Wars fans over Marvel, Pokemon over Yu-Gi-Oh, and I actually don't know where you fall with the Xbox PS4 because I feel like most people voted more on the other categories. And so since I won, we're going to be bringing you more Star Wars and Pokemon content. And today, we're starting with Star Wars, boys. Kill the past. Or let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
Kill Kylo Ren for all I care.
Let's just scrub 7 and 8 and let's try again.
On today's episode, we're talking about Jedi Fallen Order. So the gameplay came out
at E3 recently.
I don't really know what to say. You know what? Graphic-wise, it looks amazing.
So what this really reminds me of, graphics-wise, and I'm kind of... I mean, I like the graphics, but I'm kind of not a big fan of it. It feels like it's just the Battlefront graphics that EA's been using. And I like the graphics, but I don't know. There's something about them that I just...
Well, to me, it's
not satisfying.
It might be maybe Star Wars Battlefront graphics from like the from all the versions they came out with. Not like, of course, the original Star Wars graphics. But you know what? At least this is a more open world map.
It's a single player game. I see the scene on screen now. I love the droid that is with the companion. I'm really intrigued about him.
One thing I'm going to say though, too many cutscenes. I don't like cutscenes. Even look back at the Battlefront 2. Do you know that you could find the original you could find the Star Wars Battlefront 2 by EA? All the cutscenes and put together like a 2-hour-long movie.
Yeah, people put them together in movies. Some people watch those instead of playing the game.
Why do you have 2 hours of...
I mean, some of those are like the game.
Considering they complain that the campaign's only 4 hours long anyway. I mean, most of your things are cutscenes.
I like cutscenes, but there's a point where there's too many. But that's not really my problem with this game. I have to say, like, I mean, I'm pretty enthusiastic about this game. There's some things I really like. So we have one of the... Oh, do you know what they're called? Purge Troopers, I believe, is the name for the new type of Stormtrooper that uses the...
that could sound correct.
The Vibro Staff, which is like from like the Magna Guards from Episode 3. And so I think it's right around here. Yep, see that there. So he tries to force pull the guy in. Like, what happens is, so the AI is actually interacting with what you're trying to do. It's not like Force Unleashed where you can just shove a Purge Trooper, shove a Shadow Trooper, and he flies off. This one, so he tries to pull that Purge Trooper towards him so that he can cut him. The Purge Trooper takes a staff, digs it down so they can't be pulled, and then actually lets go so that he lets himself be pulled, but it turns the pull into a swipe of his own. I love seeing smart AI like that. And that had me... Seeing that on screen was really exciting, especially because this isn't a main boss. This isn't an Inquisitor or anything like that.
Saw Gerrera. That was an interesting find, and of course we both are big fans of Rogue One. Mm-hmm. And have you ever watched the TV show Rebels?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, see, I haven't. Mm-hmm. I never really
watched
Rebels.
He makes an appearance in a couple episodes of that. Rebels is beyond saying... I like Rebels, but I don't love Rebels. Like, it's not Clone Wars quality. I believe you saw the Clone Wars.
Yes. I binge-watched all 7 seasons. 7, 6.
No, 7's coming out soon.
7's coming out. 6 seasons.
Yeah. I mean, the one's the lost episodes kind of thing, which isn't a full season.
Well, we'll see what they give us. They might add a few. Who knows?
The problem... Yeah, Rebels isn't the same tier as Clone Wars. The problem with Rebels is just, like, it feels more like one of those old Saturday morning, like, superhero cartoons where, like, something bad happens, but the heroes always come out on top. Rebels just... It's not willing to go dark enough. Again, it's a kid's show, and it's also on the Disney Channel, so I imagine those are both factors on it. Clone Wars was Cartoon Network right before Adult Swim came on, so they could get away with a lot more. But it has a lot of potential and a lot of moments where, like, you think it's going to get really good. Like, there's a scene, I'm not going to count this as I mean, it'd be a spoiler if you haven't seen Rebels, but if you haven't seen Rebels by now, you're probably not in a big hurry to watch it.
You're probably not going to watch it.
And there's some hinting that, like, the main character, Ezra, is going to become Darth Maul's apprentice, which would be really awesome. Let him get trained in the dark side. He starts showing some dark side, like he forces he kind of takes, like, mental control over, like, an Imperial Walker, like the pilot, and he makes the pilot just walk right off a cliff. So we get this really cool dark moment, and it's a really exciting scene. It starts off Season 3. And then literally like 10 minutes later in the episode, he's like, I've rejected all of this. We're getting rid of this holocron. I mean, it's probably not that quick, but it's just, they give us this tease that is going to be really exciting and really successful, like suspenseful, and then just they pull away too quick. And that's kind of the theme of Rebels, is that it's not willing to go as dark as it needs to.
This does remind me a lot of Assassin's Creed. A little bit of Uncharted in here, a little bit.
I've heard that comparison a lot.
And to me, that's and again, I think this is something that always hits home, whether we care about graphics or story more. The graphics, of course, look amazing. Of course, we live in 2019. Why wouldn't the graphics look amazing? But to me, I'm going to be more interested in what the story is. Right now, I'm compelled by this character. Did they even give this character a name? I'm sure they did, but
I personally don't know it. I try not to, like, I don't know. One of my favorites with this game is, like, I see a lot of things I really like here. I like the main character, I like the droid, I like seeing Saw Gerrera. They're on Kashyyyk. I'm not crazy about going to Kashyyyk because games go back there a lot.
Well, it's also EU Legends.
Yeah, that's the thing, is because I like the old Kashyyks.
Well, yeah, we both asked too, because the first time we both saw this, we called each other that night too, and we were like, "Hey, did you see the Kashyyyk?" And like they went back to the Kashyyyk storyline about saving the Wookiees, but they do it differently in the canon version versus the Legends. So it's gonna be more interesting. They're probably gonna stick with the
I had kind of hoped they would just go to a new like. Respawn is a company that has a pretty good reputation for these games, and I was hoping they would just develop a whole new story. Like, instead of trying to rewrite an old story, I was hoping they'd take us to, which, I mean, we're going to see new planets for sure. We don't know. This is a couple of missions into the game is what the demo is, but I'm hoping we see some really exciting planets, maybe some new planets that they've really taken some time to develop on their own. But so that's why, so my thing with this, and why I haven't like dove too deeply into it, here's 4 cents. I thought that was really nice, them bringing that into this game. That's something we've seen in Clone Wars with Quaylen Voss. His is more of like an imagery one, but it's still like a really obscure old canon Force power that they're bringing back, which I really like. But what I'm worried about with this game is that I'm going to get really hyped for it, and then it's not going to live up to those expectations. It's going to be a flat story, the gameplay is going to get repetitive. Something, you name it. Think Battlefront 1, how hyped we were for EA's Battlefront 1. Like, oh, wow, this is going to be, old Battlefront with new graphics. And then it was a total disappointment. And that's what I'm afraid of happening with this game. A concern of mine with this is, so it's coming out this year. It, just got announced this year, pretty much. And so that's not a lot of time to develop a game, not a lot of time to develop a story. If this game had been in the works for, 3-4 years, we would have already known that. We wouldn't just be learning about the game in the last year. And so I worry about how much time went into that versus just graphics and gameplay.
Well, I worry on 2 fronts. First of all, I know you and Mike had a good conversation about whether the game's finished or not. Mm-hmm. Hopefully this isn't one of those games where it's going to leave you on now, it's fine if you get left on a cliffhanger at the end of a movie or something like that, because even The Force Unleashed, they had their cliffhanger moments at the end, and then you could tie into future stuff. But I'm hoping it completes a story.
The first one didn't.
Yeah. But I'm hoping it completes a story, because you always like those movies where it ends in a good, but you can still have a chance to go off on something.
Even if you do you don't want to do a cliffhanger, but even if you have some sort of hint for the next thing, especially for the first installment in a series, you have to give the audience a satisfying story. Also, I love the high ground joke here.
Yeah, and I'm also going to be disappointed too if now we're seeing Saw Gerrera, we're seeing somebody like a K2SO. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be very disappointed if we see anybody else like a Jin or so show up in this one, because it's going to ruin Rogue One to me, which Rogue One is one of the greatest, if not
Donnie watches Rogue One on repeat.
I could watch that one,
and I'm not even kidding. He just watches it on repeat.
It's still in my DVD player probably, and I don't. Netflix is a go-to, but you know what? Every now and then you gotta switch to DVD.
Gotta pop in on DVD.
Yeah, gotta do that. But no, if we see any more of those characters, it's going to take me back a little bit and ruin something to me that was actually magical, although we both agree that it was kind of a mistake on Disney's part.
I mean,
they got lucky with that one.
Yeah, they didn't intend for it to come out how it did. I don't mind seeing the callbacks, but I want a game that can survive on its own and not have to rely on callbacks. I don't mind them making jokes, like they have the high ground joke in there and stuff, but I don't want them to get too heavy on trying to promote memes and things like that. And I have some hope. So we have the K2 droid that shows up. It's not... it seems like there's going to be a couple in the game, they're just sort of like a mini-boss. As for new content, I love the droid that is our companion's droid. I'm really intrigued by him. I can't say I've seen a droid like that. It kind of reminds me of a tiny Imperial Walker. but it has personality. Like, it starts up the drill and it's like, you just wanted to ram that into something. You didn't know this was here. And I like kind of seeing that kind of character coming out.
And they're also coming along to the prequels, too, it shows you. Like, because, like, when Disney first took over this, and I know that Disney's not necessarily in charge of EA, and who made this game again?
This one's Respawn Entertainment.
That's what it is. So I know that they didn't technically really have their hands in all this stuff, but, like, you could tell, like, the first, when The Force Awakens came out, when Last Jedi came out, even Rogue One, they didn't really tie to the prequels that much, because I figured there was this hate for the prequels, apparently, which really, the Star Wars community really doesn't.
What they were banking on is we
didn't like Episode 1.
Yeah, Jar Jar specifically. What they were banking on is they were banking on hitting this like original trilogy fan base, and what they did is they misjudged their own like target audience. They didn't know who they were targeting. They don't know Star Wars fans. And if you know Star Wars fans, you know that if you're a true diehard original trilogy fan, you're the group that hates the prequels with a passion. You're not gonna like anything after, because anything that alters your arc of the original trilogy, you're not gonna like. That's just how that fan base is, and that's perfectly fine. But Disney didn't understand that, and I think they were kind of banking on that group, and they're also banking on like a new generation. But yeah, they were totally out to they were not
Here
fans
comes
of the prequels.
K2SO, at least
Well, not SO, it's a K2 droid, but...
Well, no, but
because when you hear the voice...
Like K2SO, I know.
Yeah, because that one's like a female AI, but see, there's multiple of them,
Yep.
So it seems like it's kind of an AI. How do you feel about them using the the Force slowdown that like Kylo uses with the bolts?
I think it's cool. Again, I don't know the mythology behind that.
I think that's
a cool title reveal in the stone. I kind of like that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that necessarily, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I know. It's one I can live with.
It's a Disney thing. Eventually, they're probably gonna somewhere in this game. Mark my word, they're gonna have the whole how Luke was able to transport his image to another planet.
You think?
I'm gonna call it right away.
Okay, I don't know if they'd go that far, because I think that's like a big Luke thing.
Well,
it's supposed to be like
it should
how
be
powerful
logically.
He is.
It should be. However,
I mean, this guy does already have Force sense, which is super rare, so maybe.
But again, it'll be more interesting to see the backstory and read about it a little bit here.
I'm intrigued. I'm worried that it won't live up to any hype we give it. Like, I almost wish they'd say, hey, coming next summer, so that they had that whole year to develop, instead of coming out this year, because I'm nervous.
The only movie I'm hyped for is Avatar 2.
You're still waiting for
I'm
Avatar
still waiting.
2.
And you know what? I don't care if it's about 15 more years, 20 more years. I will still be waiting. And it's going to be an excellent movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather movie, game, album for music,
Just
whatever you're developing, I'd rather you take the time to get it right than give us something that's unfinished and not ready for the public. It goes back to the whole live service debate. These live service games aren't ready for the public when they come out. And it's very frustrating as someone receiving them.
Well, I think that wraps up our episode today. Hopefully you liked this review of Jedi Fallen Order.
May the Force be with you.
Always.